Well, look, if you've got Pat DiMarco leading the way, 100% of your yards are not going to come after contact because he's
I don't
going to
know about
clear the
that.
way. You'll be 10 yards downfield before anybody even sees you, right, Pat?
Marcus Lattimore made me look really good.
I don't know, man.
That's right.
You made him look all right.
It's a two-way street, Pat.
Look,
Yeah, man. Don't sell yourself short, man.
You didn't play in the NFL for 10 years because you were a good guy. Like, you are a good guy, but you were a good football player too. You know that. So
Yeah,
anyway.
well, I appreciate it. It was, yeah, I mean, I kind of caught the tail end of it, but no, I thought Rocket played really well. I mean, the big alarming thing, and there's a lot of alarming things, but Lenore's carrying the ball 22 times. We knew he was going to be involved in the run game, but man, playing a 12-game SEC schedule with your quarterback carrying it 22 times. And I talked to Garcia and Connor about it, and they're like, "Man, if I carried it 22 times, I'd be living in the cold tub the next couple of days." So hopefully that doesn't become a recurring thing.
Yeah, we mentioned earlier too, Pat, trying to get it's always better to go deeper into the numbers and try to understand what exactly that looked like. Of course, it's like in baseball, you can go 4 for 4. Oh, he went 4 for 4, but were they 4 sawed-off singles or were they 4 balls that he hit in the gap? Either way, they're base hits. Yeah, and some of the kneel downs certainly were part of that. Some of the sacks, and then there were times. And I don't know the answer to this, Pat. Maybe you know. I mean, I know you know more than we do, but I don't think anybody actually knows unless you're calling the plays and you're on the headset and you understand what happened there. But some of them probably decisions he made on his own, being a young guy. That was to be expected, though. Like he's going to resort to the things that make him comfortable, right?
We've talked about the growing pains that he's going to have early on in this year, and I mean, honestly, he looked composed back there. I feel like he made a lot of the right reads in the run game, and some of the RPO action stuff that he did. I think the whole team in general competed really hard. Like there was no fold or no give up in the team, and that was encouraging. In a game that did not go as they and we thought it was going to go. Good guys still ended up on top. I mean, I tweeted it and kind of got chastised for it a little bit, but I think I'll take an ugly win better than a pretty loss all freaking day. And as Gene Bell would say, I'm standing on business.
That's a good point. You got the D in there. Attaboy. Yeah, let's we'll go to the video in a minute, Pat, but just want to get some quick hitter stuff in with you. So I'm going to ask you this, and obviously choose to answer however you want to. I'm not trying to paint you in any corner. You know me better than that. I would never do it. I just still don't really know what they want to be on offense. I don't. What did you see? Like, who are they? What's their identity?
I mean, we're obviously a run first team, which I think is suited for our roster at this point right now. You have to have a game where somebody has more than 2 catches. That's tough. If you don't have a featured receiver that you want to get out there and get the ball to. But I'm with you. I thought Rocket played well. I mean, there really wasn't much there, which is a little alarming. There weren't that. I mean, we had 2 or 3 explosive runs, but a lot of it was, like you said, he was getting hit the line of scrimmage, bouncing off something, or sticking his foot in the ground and getting vertical. I guess we gotta clean up the pass protection in the run game blocking. One of the clips that you sent me was basically a counter, and if Michael Smith is able to get the outside shoulder of the linebacker that he's supposed to get to, we're 1-on-1 with the corner, and that's Juju's run, I believe.
Yeah.
But all stuff like that we can get better at, and we will. And what better opportunity to do that going up to Lexington, Kentucky, and playing against a pretty good Kentucky football team. So got stuff to clean up, I'm sure, just like they do. Maybe they're riding their high and we're kind of we have a little kick in the ass because I mean I think this team definitely needs it this week because that was not what Williams-Brice Stadium with the fans at Williams-Brice Stadium expected to see. So I think they're gonna definitely be challenged this week by Coach Beamer and staff to step it up and play at a higher level.
Well, Shane wasn't quiet about his disappointment after the game on Saturday. I think he ended up toning it down a little bit. But I was talking to Flint yesterday too. I talked to somebody yesterday morning, then I talked to Mike in the afternoon, Pat, and he actually mentioned something that it was brought up in another conversation I had early yesterday morning, which was in the throw game, in the pass game. You know, things that are pretty widely common in college football, especially trying to get a young guy into his rhythm, hitches and slants and those little things. You know, those are basic football 101 type stuff. I didn't feel like we saw any of that. Now, is it because it wasn't called? I don't know that answer. There might have been guys who didn't do this or didn't do that or whatever. I've gone back and watched the game, Pat. I'm not smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean,
but I just felt like a lot of that was missing.
Yeah, I felt like there was some RPO stuff. Some of those were probably turned into runs, handoffs. But no, I agree with you. There wasn't that much quick game. I mean, we spit it outside a couple times, but the perimeter blocking wasn't great. And those just didn't end up being big explosive plays. But, yeah, getting your quarterback going early with quick completions, getting the ball in the hands of the wide receivers. I mean, the only explosive pass play was the pass to Vendarius Jacobs. Was the scramble. I mean, that wasn't Lenore stepped up, the corner bit, he dumped it right over the corner's head. Great ball. But, I mean, that was it from an explosive pass play standpoint. And we've talked about it before, is in every high-level team I've ever played for, you have to win the explosive play battle. And, I mean, if we only had 4 or 5 explosive plays against ODU, we probably didn't win that battle. But we didn't win the battle, but we won the war. So –
well, okay, and then there's a process, right? Like you don't. I mean, it's kind of like working out. You want to change your body. Do you just walk around the weight room and just pick up different things, and then at the end of the day, you're like, yeah, it worked out, or do you actually have a plan to get where you want to go? And like explosive plays, if you're just kind of firing them out there from time to time, that's great. We took a couple shots, it didn't work out, but don't you set those up? And did we? I don't know. Did we see enough of that on Saturday? I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot to be longed for. And Don Loggins is obviously, like, he's not the offensive coordinator by accident. Like, the guy has been in the NFL for a long time. He has a great track record. What he did with Spencer last year, what the offense was able to accomplish at times last year. Like, the guy knows what the heck he's doing, and I have plenty of confidence in him. It's just about catering it to our personnel. And I think that's, part of what the issue was on Saturday and why we weren't able to, have 600 yards total offense and put up the numbers that we thought we were going to. But, I mean, I can promise you this. He was in there probably all night Saturday night, all the day yesterday, all day Sunday, kind of cleaning this thing up. And I'm sure we'll have a lot better product out there on this upcoming Saturday. And I wouldn't be opposed to sprinkling in the other quarterback a little bit. Like, I mean, I don't think Lenore's played well enough to win the football game, but I think that the Robbie kid has traits that are going to help us become a better football team in general, like running the ball too. Maybe not having Lenore have that many carries, maybe divvying up the carries from a quarterback standpoint might be something I would consider.
Pat DiMarco joining us, 12:15 here. Quickly too on Sellers getting on the road this weekend, his first collegiate start away from Williams-Brice Stadium. Sometimes that's not really a bad thing, Pat. Instead of feeling like 80,000 people are riding on your shoulders to win the game, that's a lot of pressure. As a matter of fact, some quarterbacks would tell you, I've talked to Connor about this before Stevens mentioned it, sometimes it's a lot easier when 60,000 people hate you than when 80,000 people love you. And getting him on the road this weekend maybe eliminates some of that and allows him to kind of just zero in on not feel anything other than what he's doing.
Yeah, he's a competitor. I mean, just like Coach Beamer's a competitor, just like everybody in that building is a competitor. So they're going to go up to Lexington and give them hell. I would expect nothing less.
On the defensive side, though, they were there when it was like State Farm. They're there when you need them, and they were on Saturday. They had some big plays, most notably the pick at the end that sealed the deal, but 4 turnovers. Pat, when you played at Carolina, towards the end of your career, and then a couple of years that followed that all those guys that played on the edge, they're all elite, and they all went to the league.
That was the most encouraging thing, is to watch Kennard and Stewart get after the quarterback. I mean, combined, what they have, 5.5 or 5 sacks combined, 4.5.
4, but like 6 total tackles for a loss.
Yeah, I mean, they got after it. I mean, when you look at defensively, like, we played a really clean football game other than 2 plays. So it's, I mean, but you can't bank on taking the ball away from somebody 4 times. Like, that is, like, if that doesn't happen, like, how does that game end up? So, I mean, you just can't bank on, like, winning the turnover battle is obviously at the utmost in every single football game possible, but you can't bank on 4. I think you can bank on 1 or 2, and you're really happy. So, I mean, ODU's able to run the ball pretty efficiently, and obviously, other than their big shots, we ran a lot of cover 1. We pressured a lot. I saw some 0 in there too, where, I don't know. I didn't do a scouting report on ODU's receivers, but I would imagine Kentucky's receivers and the receivers we're going to play in the future are going to be better than ODU's. And I don't know if you can necessarily line up and play 0 against some of these elite receivers. I mean, we do have a really good secondary, but it's just, I mean, it's a lonely island out there when you run 0 and no help over the top.
Pat, the offense that ODU ran mimics a lot of what Tennessee does.
Yep.
They try to move it. How difficult is it to defend that, especially on a hot day when they run 70, 75 of those plays like they did Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, it's we were able to bottle up Tennessee 2 years ago. They didn't do much against us. But I mean, a first game of the year, super fast paced. Like, how do you really prep for that? From a scout team standpoint, like, you should be in football shape, but really it's your first real game. You've scrimmaged 2 or 3 times against each other, but that's kind of controlled chaos, where a game is just sheer chaos. So I think we're going to bounce back and have a big week coming up, and I'm looking forward to what's ahead. This is a game that we very easily could have lost, but we didn't. And that is the light at the end of the tunnel. And there's plenty to get better on, and that's why the coaches are making all the money that they're making, and the players are making all the money that they're making, because it needs to be better moving forward.
That's exactly right. All right, let's go here. We get 4 plays from the weekend. We'll get Mad Dog to pop these up, Pat, and we'll let you kind of walk us through what we saw in some of these. There certainly are some big plays from Saturday we don't have in here, but we'll start here. Early in the ball game, big sack. You mentioned those defensive ends. Yep.
I mean, the 2 edge guys, obviously their heads are outside because they have outside contain. Looks like it was a design blitz by Debo. Looked like we were in cover 1 with Nick Uniore peeking the back, and then if the back were to release, he would have him in man, but instead he fell into a bracket on the outside receiver. But Debo coming downhill, I mean, immediately forces the quarterback to flush the pocket because he runs over the running back who cuts him. And then that just funnels. The quarterback tried to escape, and your 2 edge guys are outside contained, so they're feeling outside pressure. And then obviously Debo, with the attitude and the mentality he plays with, he is a downhill thumper. So what you see here, you see him, he basically collapse the pocket, and therefore the quarterback has to abort, and Debo pops up after getting cut and gets an interception and off to a hot start. I mean, this is play 3, right? Play 2 or play 3?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was, this is a heck of a start. I mean, I'm sitting in the stands. I am on the home sideline right about the goal line, and I see this, and I'm going absolutely nuts. So
pause that, Phil.
Hot start, and then obviously we scored 2 plays later. But, you just can't bank on that stuff happening to start a football game off.
To the second one here, Pat, once again on the I can't remember what number 2 is here. I remember all 4 plays, but I can't remember what order.
This was another sack. And
the other sack. Yeah, Dylan Stewart.
I mean, we're in basically a one robber here, and you see just really not having anybody open downfield early, and you see the pocket just collapsing. I mean, those two edge guys basically sack him with their offensive tackles. Just a complete sandwich. And I mean, but that's the beauty, and that's what makes the secondary's job a lot easier. Like, you don't have to hold the stuff. We're pressed up, playing inside out on both number two receivers, and then you get a robber in there too. So right as plans, make the quarterback get the ball out fast, and they can't because you collapse the pocket.
Hey, pause that real quick, Phil. I want to ask you about DeAndre Jules. He's a guy who transferred in from Pittsburgh. I know you saw him in camp here and there, Pat, but clearly the three veterans returning, great football players are great guys. TJ Sanders, Boogie Huntley, Tonka Hemingway. DeAndre Jules, Monkel Goodwine, I think, was in on that play there. They added some beef in the offseason from Alabama and Pittsburgh, respectively. I thought both those guys showed why they were welcome additions to this football program.
Yeah, I mean, the more bodies you can have inside, I mean, these guys are eating double teams on first and second down, and then obviously, I would imagine Tonka, with as athletic as he is probably as good as they get as a three technique inside rusher. So to keep him not having to play every single down of every single drive, I mean, bodies inside, especially that can play at a high level and provide versatility. I mean, that's huge. I mean, you got between Nick Barrett, Boogie, Tonka, TJ Sanders, and those two, you got a rotation of 6. Mm-hmm. You can have them fresh every 2 plays. Hey, go get two. And that way they can play at an extremely high level. I will say, I was surprised at. I mean, we had a lot of substitutions, and they would have had us several times if they would have quick snapped us and had another play called. I mean, they very easily could have had 12 on the field several times, but they didn't snap it. So something to keep track of. I mean, having fresh bodies out there is good, but I mean, you definitely got to stay on top of it. Guys got to play 5-6 play drives if they need to.
Yeah, there's here another look at it right there. That's Goodwine 44, the transfer from Alabama.
You see where Stewart strikes him right in the middle of his chest, and just, I mean, we used to call that as walking the dog. They took the dog for a walk there and just bent him right into the quarterback.
Keep it up, boys. You're going to need that once you get into the SEC this weekend on the road up in Lexington. All right. Offensively, of course, there just wasn't a ton to be excited about over the weekend. Lenore Sellers trying to feel things out, but right here, Juju McDowell has to reverse course. Michael Smith with a miss out there. He missed his guy.
Yeah, I mean, this was a straight run. There's no RPO component built in. There's no read here built in. This was just a jab counter action. And it looks like this is like a pin pull type counter action where you see all the receivers coming down cracking. And yeah, I mean, 20 just misses. He shoots too low and the backer scrapes over the top. I mean, Juju does a great job of, I mean, this is built to go outside, but about 40 yards the other way. And, Juju just stuck his foot in the ground. I mean, you'll see here Michael just takes a low angle. He should be aiming at his outside shoulder here. And the guy, 18, gets over the top. Juju does a great job. I mean, I know this has been a joke. The quarterback tackles the running back for a 12-yard gain when it could have been a 40-yard gain. There aren't too many quarterbacks that are going to chase down the running back like this and try to stick their nose in there. I think that's an encouraging piece here. Is Norris is like, ooh, let me get one, and goes try. And I mean, sucks that he clipped his heel. I mean, he literally clipped him for just a second. I mean, and not to mention, like, Norris was freaking scooting there. He was.
It's kind of funny when you think of that.
It was. I mean, obviously, from an execution standpoint, Michael Smith gets the outside number on that guy. We're 1-on-1 with the corner. Juju's going to make him miss, and there's an explosive play there. But to abbreviate and still get an explosive play out of it, you got to have backs like that can make stuff happen.
I'm glad you spoke to the effort there, Pat, about Sellers, because that's what I took from that. I was like, man, it's unfortunate he clipped him, but you're out there making the play. Like, he's trying to get the block.
I like it, Mad Dog. He's a fullback.
Man. That's like right. Yeah,
he's going to get him one.
That's right. Let me go block somebody. There we go.
This final one here, Pat, you referenced this earlier. This was the biggest gain of the day here. Come back to.
I mean, Awesome protection up front. Josh Simon one-on-one with the pressure off the edge, goes and eats it up. Case and Henry collapses the 5 technique that spikes inside. A perfect pocket. You sit there and Lenoris, like, this is kind of like what he had in the big throw last year. I forget what the game it was.
Vandy.
But same situation where he could have stepped up and taken off for the first down, but he kept his eyes downfield. He's watching zero sinking. If zero keeps sinking, he's going to take off for the first down, but he sees him trigger, and then the receiver sits in the pocket. Great job here with after the catch. This is what we're looking for. This is what South Carolina is going to need, guys that can do stuff with the ball in their hands after they catch it, and to make a move on the safety and get vertical. If he scores here, this is this is a highlight that's probably sticks around for the entire year.
I put this play in here because I just think this is exactly what this offense can be to get things loosened up, right, Pat? You've got a receiver coming back to the football. You've got Lenoris Sellers using his legs to create something downfield. It was well blocked up front, as you pointed out there. I think that was Rocket Sanders, who after he releases here, he's got 2 linebackers kind of bird dogging him there. You see right there. There's one. Yep. But right, Pat, if you're able to use your legs to create, that's when these opportunities will be open.
The world that we live in now, how many Peyton Mannings are there in college football and the NFL anymore? Guys are going to sit in there and on their 5th step on 75% of dropbacks are ripping on those. There's a lot of off-schedule plays is what I'm getting at. And Lenoris is going to be able to provide that even when he's not supposed to. But that's the beauty of it is off-schedule plays, defenses tend to crumble. It's really hard for a corner or safety to stay in phase or remain in the perfect spot for 7 or 8 seconds. Like, stuff's going to break down, and this is where Lenoris, a freshman stepping up, could have taken off and picked it up, but kept his eyes downfield, found his receiver. Like, this is very, very encouraging, and this is probably going to have to happen more often than not for us this year. And these type of explosive plays, if you can put together 5 or 6 of these in the game, this is big time football, and this is really encouraging right here.
That concludes the video footage segment of our segment with Pat DiMarco. Yeah, agree. And watching Lenoris, I'll leave it to you here, kind of get the final word in on this. Look, he missed some easy throws on Saturday, but overall, Pat, I go back just by listening to you, listening to Perry, Steven, Mike, John, all the guys that we really trust. That's why you're around here. I felt like outside of a couple of shaky moments here and there, just being a young guy overall for a redshirt freshman, the composure, A plus. He's.
Obviously, I was a very critical player of myself, and I graded myself at a very high level, and it was a minus if it wasn't perfection. I would imagine. Beamer spoke on it. There was a lot of sloppy football played. That's with a clicker in my hand. I didn't from the naked eye. I obviously watching the football for the most part, chasing around 4 kids at the football game. But I didn't see it. It wasn't, other than missing a couple open targets and, the blocking maybe not being superb. We forced 4 turnovers, only gave up 1. So there's, a lot we can fix and a lot to get better on, but without having a clicker in my hand and watching the 12 different angles that you get to watch, I'm sure there was a lot of sloppy football, and I believe Coach Beamer when he says that, because he watched him practice all week and he knew the game plan like the back of his hand. But the good part is a lot of that can get cleaned up, and that's what Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are for, because Saturday it's time to go kick some Wildcat ass.
The defensive line for Kentucky led by number 0, whatever his name is, I've forgotten, but it doesn't matter.
How old is he?
He's like 40. This guy, he's 6'7", he's 350 pounds. But that's your strength on defense. It starts there, Pat. Obviously, the offensive line and the tight ends and the running backs collectively have quite a challenge this weekend. Just real quick snippet on what you would anticipate South Carolina doing to attack that.
Yeah, I think trying to figure. I think this week is really figuring out what succeeded, what didn't succeed last week, and kind of growing on that. Obviously, we're going to run the ball. I don't think Kentucky has or at least historically, Kentucky doesn't have an offense that scores 40 points a game. Generally, Kentucky plays good defense, runs the ball, and takes care of the football. That's kind of, I think, a similar recipe to what South Carolina is going to have this year when we have success. So, I mean, I think we're definitely going to have to match them man for man up front in the run game. Rocket Sanders is going to have to show what he can do, making a guy miss, breaking a couple tackles. And then once we show how efficient we can be in the run game, that'll open some stuff up downfield from Norris. And then defensively, I think we just got to stick to our game plan. Pressure when pressure's called for, and then anchor down with our front seven when that's called for as well.
Pat, tomorrow it will be the 4th edition of Tailgate Talks with Pat DiMarco and Steven Garcia. It will be released first thing in the morning. When you wake up, it'll be out. You can watch it on Gamecocks Plus. You can pull it up and listen on the Chief Sports app or anywhere that you get your podcast, but certainly appreciate all those that utilize our app. Tomorrow's guest will be?
Tomorrow's guest, we have 4 of them. We are doing a quarterback roundtable we got Steve Tannehill, Connor Shaw, Steven Garcia, Blake Mitchell, throwback. He was a senior my freshman year in Perry Orth. So have kind of we were trying to get Todd Ellis and Tommy Suggs. They weren't able to get on, but we got a good lineup, and we talk about everything. There's a lot of editing because we were at Halls and had a few. We were tailgating while we were hosting the tailgate talks.
Nice.
So it was definitely very entertaining, very insightful to see. Really to hear everybody on a different level. I mean, it was kind of everybody put the guard down and just spoke their mind, which was cool. I didn't know Steve. I've met Steve Tannehill several times. I didn't know him that well, so that was really cool to be able to connect with. We joked about the older generation. There was a good side of the table and a bad side of the table. I'll let you guys, when you watch it, decipher who's who. But we had a great time. We recorded for over an hour and a half, and it could have went for 3 hours if we were allowed to keep going, and Halls would have accepted us. But we got kicked out in typical fashion, so it was a good time.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I bet I know who led that charge. Really looking forward to that. It'll be out tomorrow morning on our app in our network. If you pull up the app, the Chief Sports app, you can watch it right there through Gamecocks Plus, and you can listen to it. We've got both links there, and we encourage everybody. It's a very neat conversation. So everybody, please make sure you check that. Pat, we'll get you out of here. We know you got to go, but we really appreciate it as always, man. Look forward to doing this next week. Hopefully, Carolina's 2-0 when we do it.
Let's do it.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Pat.
Thanks, brother.